Chapter 821. Goodbye. The Tigerback campsite was peaceful again after the bloody massacre. The floor was full of dead bodies and broken swords. This was an inferno. It was a scene of devastation. The bronze-armored soldiers sat on the ground and rested. Even after killing the secret practitioners, they could not fully let their guard down as the large overseas organizations could still fight. They had fought for a full day. Even practitioners could not handle such high-intensity battles. Everyone was thoroughly tired. Some took off their helmets and vomited. This was the bloodiest day in their lives. They put their hands on the ground, but it was full of dead bodies and blood. But to the Heavenly Network, they would be considered true warriors after this war. Every bronze-armored soldier was valiant and dauntless. Everyone was fatigued. They only wanted to have a good night's sleep, even if they were out in the open with dead bodies beside them. Chen Xuan took off his helmet. He was visibly frustrated. He spat on the ground and looked into the distance. "I'm done for." Chang Qiuqiao, who was beside him, asked, "What's wrong?" "It's confirmed," said Chen Xuan. "I saw Brother Shu's back just now. It's definitely him. That was his tent." "Qiuqiao, next year when you visit me, please burn a few comic books for me. Novels will do too. I'm scared that I'll be bored down there." Chang Qiuqiao said, "Don't be so pessimistic. You think too darkly about Brother Shu. At most, you'll be disabled." "Qiuqiao." Chen Xuan calmly looked at Chang Qiuqiao. "Don't speak. I was just joking. But now that you say that, I'm suddenly scared." But it was a joke. Chen Xuan was very touched. In the past, he had done his missions alone. Class A aptitude geniuses always went on solo missions. Nieting felt that they would truly grow and learn to rely on themselves only through completing missions alone, in environments where they could not rely on anyone. This was another lesson for Chang Qiuqiao and Chen Xuan. They had learned the meaning of working together. Suddenly, there was a sound in the distance. The bronze-armored soldiers were all alert. Someone shouted, "Can the flood of bronze still stand and fight?" Crash. The bronze-armored soldiers all stood up at the same time. They stood in their formation and waited. Their swords had broken, but not their spirits. Suddenly, someone shouted, "All those who enter our borders will die." Before anyone could respond, a few wild boars ran past. What a waste of energy. I don't think that we need to kill wild boars."
Ha! Ha! Ha!
The bronze-armored soldiers sat on the floor and laughed out loud, as if they were laughing at their own sensitivity. After an entire day of fighting, even the rustle of grass would alert them. Who shouted, "All those who enter our borders will die," just now? "Go kill the wild boars now." "Go away," said the person who shouted just now. Out of the 20,000 bronze-armored soldiers, around 1,700 had died and 5,600 were injured. As for the number of enemies they had killed, it was hard to count. But everyone knew that this war was far from over. It was not time to be happy yet. The practitioners from the logistics team camp arrived. They hurriedly set up tents and attended to those injured. After they took off the armor, the paramedics realized that the bronze-armored soldiers had been severely injured. There were frostbite, burns, and even wounds from elemental attacks that looked very scary. Everyone could not understand how these bronze-armored soldiers had lasted the entire day of battle. "Save the one beside me first. He's weaker. I think he's going to die," said one of them as he was being treated. "Go away. You're not much stronger than I am. Brother, save him first." "I'm fine," then, he lost consciousness. The medical team was melancholic. All the bronze-armored soldiers let others to be treated first. It was as if everyone was about to die. The ground was evened out by an earth-type practitioners. The dead bodies of the corpses were buried underground. The ground returned to a normal earthy color. The tents were set up. There was the pleasant smell of food from the cookhouse tent. The greatest benefit of having low-leveled practitioners do background tasks was that although they were not very strong, they were not a burden when they crossed over mountains with the rest. The tigerback looked entirely brand new in just half a day. Metahumans of various types made full use of their abilities. Their efficiency was frightening. But this was not the end. When the bronze-armored soldiers took off their armor and waited for food, they realized that the logistics teams was planning to build a simple defensive base here. The trees around the tigerback had been chopped down, widening their field of view. Scouts from the Heavenly Network were now scattered among the trees. They were on the lookout for any movements all around. If Lu Shu was here, he would be very touched. The Heavenly Network operated like a precise machine. The secret practitioners, on the other hand, were like fish in disarray. With this comparison in mind, it would not be surprising for the Heavenly Network to kill so many people with so little manpower. The corpses of all the 1,700 Heavenly Network practitioners who had died were gathered. Everyone silently watched this. Yesterday, they were still very lively. Now, they had sacrificed themselves for their beliefs. If they could choose again, they might still put on the bronze armor without any hesitation. They would shout, "All those who enter our borders will die." They would run into the Changbai Mountains and overwhelm their enemies with grief and terror. People did not just live one life. They lived through different chapters. Everything in those chapters was pleasant. You had the greatest courage, the most reliable comrades, and the most passionate belief. If you were gone, never to return again, then so be it. Lu Shu followed the secret practitioners and slowly walked. They would have to walk for another 3 days before they reached Port Artyom. He would find a new identity there and lie low. He would then find the culprit who was behind this and kill them. Suddenly, Lu Shu heard a roar in the distance. It sounded as if thousands of people were singing a song. He listened carefully. It sounded like Farewell Song 1. A mysterious bravery could be heard in the tactful and sad lyrics. Lu Shu could almost see people choking as they tried to sing. They would then yell and tears streamed down their face, as if the sky was about to collapse because of this. Outside the pavilion, along the old road. Green, fragrant grass joins the sky. I ask you, what time will you return? Please don't hesitate when it's time to come back. The song did not seem appropriate for the occasion, but Lu Shu understood. Even so, he turned and walked towards the most dangerous place because he was the 9th Heavenly King. Chapter 822, Lu Xiaoyu with her rich expressions. Lu Shu walked alongside the crowd. Beside him, the secret practitioners did not look as proud as before. Instead, they were miserable and distressed like a dog that just been hit. There were no tents, and only very few people managed to bring their luggage along. As a rough estimate, there were around 70,000 secret practitioners who had made it out this time, but about 60,000 were not as lucky. Most of them had failed to escape due to the serious stampede earlier. However, the 70,000-plus survivors had to trek 3 days and 3 nights before they could return to Port Artyom. Besides a shortage of food, they were also in constant fear of being caught by the Heavenly Network. But Lu Shu knew that it was not in the character of the Heavenly Network to do that. Yet, the secret practitioners did not know that. Thus, they lived on the razor's edge, terrified by beasts along the road. At the moment, their dignity as metahumans was nowhere to be found. After one whole day, they were finally assured that the Heavenly Network would not chase after them. Only then did the teams on the front lines dare to take a short rest by the road. Now, their main concern had changed from being killed to being starved to death. No one would think of food when they ran for their lives. But that was none of Lu Shu's concern. Then, he suddenly realized there was a huge influx of distress points. He had been focusing on redeeming chi fruits after the ignition of the third star. After all, the fourth nebula required 4 million points, which seemed like a rather distant goal. Hence, Lu Shu redirected his attention to the third sword spirit, wondering what kind of personality this one might have. But now, he had accumulated another 1 million distress points. How come? Lu Shu was confused. Then, he heard someone beside them talking. I wonder where the Heavenly Network got their bronze armor. It's so terrifying. All the large organizations lied to us. They never told us that the Heavenly Network is so powerful. Indeed, the bronze armor is a piece of precious treasure. Our attacks can hardly deal any fatal damage to them. Lu Shu had suddenly come to the realization that the grudges those people held towards the bronze armor had been attributed to him too. Splendid. Although he did not contribute to their distress directly, the fact that the Heavenly Network had used the armor he had surrendered long ago rendered him the ultimate cause of all the negative emotions. This was simply wonderful. Lu Shu almost laughed out loud. He had an urge to call Nieting immediately to discuss whether he should kill the people around him. Anyway, those guys would pose a detrimental threat to the entire human race. Okay, that was Lu Shu's nonsense. He leaned against a tree, deliberating whether to redeem all the points for chi fruits. But now, it seemed that his power ascension was more important if Nieting could not take action personally. Meanwhile, Lu Shu waited for the crowd to move as he snacked. His face was hidden under his hood, but everyone's attention was drawn to him due to the noise he made as he opened the food packaging. Then came another wave of distress points. People were confused. Why did this fellow bring snacks when he fled for his life? Lu Shu glanced around and asked in English, "Does this look tasty?" A female secret practitioner who was not so good-looking met Lu Shu's eyes and said, "If you give it to me, you can bring me away now. I don't mind the woods over there." As she spoke, the woman purposely pulled down her collar. People like her were not that uncommon. Having understood what she was referring to, Lu Shu shouted immediately, "I'm not that kind of person." The woman scorned, "All men are the same. I won't believe you if you claim to be a virgin. While other men have to pay, you can get it with a packet of snacks only." Lu Shu refused in a stern and just manner. "I'm proud to be poor, because the lack of financial means keeps my personality upright. Truth be told, I'm really a..." Before he could finish his sentence, a giant wave of energy exploded right below the woman. Then, like an enormous spring, the ground beneath her suddenly shot up, throwing the woman into the air. Then, they could only hear her scream going more and more distant. Lu Xiaoyu had arrived. Yet, she had hidden in the earth all the time, watching Lu Shu from underground. Lu Shu turned at once and announced loudly to those around him, "I am a wholesome man and I refuse to entertain uncouth requests. Do not tempt me with those things, please." That took the crowd by surprise. "Fine, now we know what kind of person you are, but you did not have to make a public announcement. Besides, the woman only wanted your food, it was unnecessary to use such violence." In fact, there were other female secret practitioners who had been rejected after their attempt to depend on others. But this woman was the most unlucky one. At that moment, Lu Shu was thought to be a pretty powerful Earth-type metahuman. Lu Shu realized that it was then when Lu Xiaoyu had finally stopped feeding him distress points. Actually, a moment earlier, he had sensed a wave of Earth-type power approaching him underground, which was immediately followed by Lu Xiaoyu's distress points. So, who else could it be? After other people looked away from Lu Shu, he secretly wrote on the ground as he believed that Lu Xiaoyu would be able to see it. "Why are you here?" Silently the mud transformed into a line of words. "I'm here to protect you." Lu Shu was amused. He wrote, "It's very dangerous here. I suggest you wait for me at the Heavenly Network campsite. Once I find the one behind the scene, we can kill him together." The words on the ground changed. This time, there was a drawing made of mud too. Lu Shu studied it carefully and realized that it was Lu Xiaoyu's face with a disdainful look. You should tell that to an 11-year-old. You can't fool me with that, Lu Shu. Lu Shu was dumbfounded. Lu Xiaoyu was not much older either. She was only 12. Besides, she could even add emojis to her captions. What a creative use of Earth-type powers. From Lu Shu's distress, plus 199. Lu Xiaoyu. Lu Shu wrote with a serious face. You have to listen to me this time. If we stay together, we'll be easily exposed. Thus, it'll be easier if I act alone. Moreover, you are not safe down there because it's possible that there are people of the sensory type in other large organizations. Besides, you know how much I treasure my life. I'm just going to help the Heavenly Network with a fight. Do you think I will let myself die so easily? After a short moment of silence, Lu Xiaoyu replied. You are right. Lu Shu's head throbbed. Although it was the truth, he felt kind of weird to admit it directly. Chapter 823, Don't even think of touching her. After Lu Xiaoyu heard what Lu Shu had to say, she left. She did not continue going to Port Artyom with Lu Shu. The person that Lu Shu did not want to go to Port Artyom with the most was Lu Xiaoyu, as the controller had taken photos of Lu Xiaoyu and her souls. She might still be part of their plan. Suddenly, Lu Shu heard some noise in the distance. He turned around and saw a few burly secret practitioners pinning another secret practitioner to the ground. They were taking his things away from him. The secret practitioner on the floor struggled, but the secret practitioners pinning him down seemed to be stronger. He could not even fight back. You dare to steal from your comrade? The secret practitioner on the floor shouted, but it was of no use. Comrades or not, everyone is here to earn money. The large organizations don't even think highly of our lives. What gives you the right? The secret practitioners found a few pieces of chocolate on him. If you still have chocolates hidden somewhere, I suggest that you take them out. After they obtained the chocolates, the secret practitioners turned and looked at the other secret practitioners. Their eyes were full of aggression. Lu Shu observed this with a cold eye. These people were dim-witted even in this chaos. They would restrain themselves under normal social circumstances. But in this chaotic world, they had no misgivings, especially in the world of the secret practitioners, where the weak were the prey of the strong. There were no morals among the secret practitioners. The strongest would decide the truth. Lu Shu did not involve himself in this. He typically would not care about this. Furthermore, these people had infiltrated the Changbai Mountains. Lu Shu earnestly wished that this group of secret practitioners would start killing one another. The group of secret practitioners was very far away. Lu Shu was not worried that he would be involved in their problem. His only wish now was for the secret practitioners to go to Port Artyom. He would blend in with the crowd and lie low. At that time, the burly secret practitioners and the secret practitioners beside them started to argue, but they did not fight. It was as if they enjoyed this. They were laughing out loud. Needless to say, Lu Shu was amazed at how strange humans were. The secret practitioners could kill them if they worked together, but no one made a move. When one of the secret practitioners saw that his items were going to be taken away, he suddenly turned and ran. But before long, the burly secret practitioners caught up to him and punched the back of his head. The secret practitioner who had escaped fell on the floor spasming. The secret practitioner who had attacked him was dumbfounded. He turned the secret practitioner around and checked for his breath. He's dead. The secret practitioner who had killed him seemed to be in a panic. It was as if this was his first time killing someone. He had just wanted to bully him. He did not think that he would actually kill him. One of the burly secret practitioners laughed. Oh well. That saves us the trouble of him struggling. Let's see what he has. Life was worth nothing to them. The murderer seemed to be in a panic, but this panic slowly turned into excitement. Lu Shu laughed coldly. This was human nature. Suddenly, Lu Shu was dumbfounded. He saw Cloudy in the crowd. She was still following him and was still wearing the same makeup. Yesterday, Lu Shu had observed the crowd carefully and realized that Cloudy had disappeared. But today, she was among the crowd again. She had even reapplied her makeup. But Lu Shu had some hope. Cloudy was beside the secret practitioner who had just been killed. The crowd would definitely be attracted by her looks, even after concealing her exceptionally beautiful appearance. As expected, one of the secret practitioners was dumbfounded when he saw her. He smiled and stretched out his hand to grab Cloudy. He was so lucky to have encountered a beautiful lady while escaping. Lu Shu was gloating over his misfortune. On one hand, he was enjoying the fact that the puppet master had encountered such a situation. On the other hand, the secret practitioner was definitely done for. Could you seduce the puppet master just like that? She was an expert at the top of the food chain in the realm of cultivation. But why did Cloudy hold back from killing him? Based on her personality, she should have killed him immediately. Rebels had their own awareness. Protecting the world seemed to be against their values. The puppet masters should kill. Then, Cloudy suddenly turned and gave Lu Shu a strange smile. The smile was so radiant that it almost blinded Lu Shu. Then, the moment the secret practitioner's hand touched Cloudy, she stood up and ran to Lu Shu. She gripped Lu Shu's hand tightly and said in a pitiful tone, "Save me." Lu Shu was dumbfounded. "Sister, are you serious? You can just kill him and finish this. Why do you have to involve me in this?" Lu Shu was like a normal observer watching a fight. He even had food in his hands. But a group of people suddenly turned and shouted, "Get him." What did this have to do with him? The secret practitioners laughed coldly and walked towards Lu Shu. When Lu Shu saw this, he wanted to say, "None of my business." But Cloudy softly whispered, "How did you recognize me? You know what to do, right?" Lu Shu turned and said to the secret practitioners with a sense of justice, "Don't even think of touching her." When Lu Shu said this, he did not realize that Cloudy was suddenly dumbfounded. She remembered that a very long time ago, when she was still young, a tall and sturdy figure had also said the same thing. She would then follow that person to countless expeditions and kill countless people, until that person died. Cloudy had never thought that person she treated as a father would appear. She also did not expect to hear the same words after so long. This was like a cycle. Perhaps this was fate. When Lu Shu finished speaking, he realized that Cloudy was leaning her entire body on him, as if she were greedily taking in his smell. She was evidently a powerful puppet master, but she was now like a cat leaning against him. Lu Shu was numb. "Sister, don't do that. I'm panicking now." He was flustered. Who knows what the puppet master was up to? The secret practitioners looked at Lu Shu. They had noticed Lu Shu's power and knew that he was very strong. But if they backed down now, how would they be able to face the rest of the secret practitioners? They would no longer be scared of them. Suddenly, Lu Shu saw another person appear behind the secret practitioners. The red sword slashed the secret practitioner standing in front. Lu Shu recognized this young man. He was the blood devil the puppet master had encountered in the Kochang Island remains. Chapter 824, Roping In and Rejection. Lu Shu panicked. When he saw that the blood devil had appeared, he suddenly felt as if he was being surrounded by the puppet masters. How about Tiger Ji? Would he be around as well? Lu Shu looked around, but he suddenly remembered that he had never seen Tiger Ji's actual appearance. Thus, he had no clue as to finding him. He knew that the puppet masters were on Earth to draw in former subordinates for their master. The small white fish that Chaos had eaten and the blood devil were some of them. At first, the Blood Devil did not seem to be willing to join them. In other words, the puppet masters were very loyal, but the rest were not necessarily so. Lu Shu suddenly thought, since Cloudy had caused him so much trouble, was she planning to make him work to death for that useless king? Had Cloudy seen his potential and want to rope him in? After all, Lu Shu sounded very impressive as the 9th Heavenly King. Furthermore, he was skilled in swordplay, at least, this was how Lu Shu viewed himself. But if the puppet masters were really thinking of this, then they had found the wrong person. Lu Shu would never work to death for anyone. It was in his nature. Lu Shu could work or live under someone else's roof, but he would always have a strong desire to break free from his current situation. Lu Shu would never be satisfied in those kinds of circumstances. His ideal life would be free from the control of others. This trait made him conflicted when he was about to join the heavenly network. To Lu Shu, your king could be very impressive, even more impressive than a Shen Songjing. But if Lu Shu did not want to work to death for the king, what could the king do? Of course, this psychological drama was full of ups and downs. Lu Shu had started to think about how he should reject the puppet masters without angering them if they tried to rope him in. How would he reject them? Lu Shu had a headache. But one cause for celebration was the fact that Lu Xiaoyu had listened to him and returned to the heavenly network base, in the Changbai Mountains. If not, they might have gotten into a fight with the puppet masters even before they found the controller. If Tiger Ji was not around, and only Cloudy and the Blood Devil, whose power had dropped to Class B, were here, they might not be able to stop Lu Shu if he wanted to run away. After all, Chaos was a Class A. Of course, this was if Chaos was reliable. Chaos now slept all day. There were times when it could be awakened, and there were times when it could not. But most importantly, if he were to battle the puppet master here, he would not be able to find the controller. For some reason, Lu Shu suddenly felt that this was not planned by the puppet masters. It might have been because his impression of the puppet masters had changed. Of course, there were other areas of concern. The controller had always been hiding in the dark throughout the entire plan. How could they appear so easily? The Blood Devil pulled out its long sword from the corpse of the secret practitioner and sheathed it. It was as if the secret practitioner had been sucked of all his energy and collapsed in a puddle of blood. The Blood Devil smiled and looked over. But when he looked at Cloudy, its expression suddenly turned cold. It was as if the Blood Devil was unhappy that it was the one doing the killing. Lu Shu did not know where the Blood Devil had been hiding. It seemed to have been hiding among the secret practitioners. But the moment it attacked, everyone was shocked. After the Blood Devil finished killing, it kept its weapon. It said coldly, "The secret practitioners must work together. If not, you will be bullied by the large organizations for the rest of your lives." He then walked to a large tree and sat down under the tree. The tree was dozens of meters away from Lu Shu and the rest. It seemed as if it did not intend to talk to Cloudy. At first, Lu Shu did not pay attention to it. But not long after, he suddenly realized that the Blood Devil, who had been sitting at the tree, had disappeared. He did not know when the Blood Devil had left. The secret practitioners had not noticed either. Evidently, the puppet masters still had many strange methods up their sleeves. According to the puppet masters, the world had become weaker, much weaker. It was not that they were very powerful. Their abilities were very diverse. If the world was a practitioner with over 10 techniques, they had over 100. They had more skills and more knowledge. The Blood Devil stood quietly at attention in the shadows. It seemed very perturbed. Tiger Ji, who was standing in front of him, looked very respectful. He observed the secret practitioners from above. Tiger Ji calmly said, "Don't deliberately show off. It's not yet time for you to contribute. Killing a few secret practitioners does not count as a contribution. Put your plans away. Your effort will be for nothing." The king's ideas are not something that you can understand. The blood devil lowered its head and said, "Yes, I understand. I know what you want." Tiger Ji glanced at the blood devil. He had been kind, but now he seemed authoritative. "You will obtain what is supposed to be yours. Wait for our king to return. We will report our contributions to him. He will decide how to reward us. It is of utmost importance to do our best." "Yes, I understand." The blood devil lowered its head even lower, but there was excitement hidden in its eyes. His blood spirit was under the control of Tiger Ji, and he could not oppose. But when he realized that there were greater benefits and glory ahead, freedom became a secondary concern. Everyone had their own decisions. The blood devil was no exception. Tigerback Campsite. The Heavenly Network had shifted their base here. Many Heavenly Network members suddenly realized that the logistics team was constructing a giant fort in the massive campsite. In the past, they had only constructed a simple defensive fortification. But now, it was different. More and more members of the logistics team arrived. The massive team was made up of metal types, earth types, fire types, and more. It was as if they had a massive plan in mind. Needless to say, no organization in the entire world had a logistics team as large as this. The Heavenly Network selected lower-level practitioners, such as Class E's and Class F's, as part of their security formation and logistics formation. They would be very passive on the battlefield, even against elemental types. In terms of strength, they could not engage in close combat. They did not have any techniques for use in long-range combat either. Thus, the security and logistics formations were the most suitable positions for them. The other large organizations wanted more cannon fodder. Class E's and Class F's could not become official members of the Phoenix Society. But the Heavenly Network did not intend to obtain victory in exchange for the lives of their members. They would use their abilities for their own jobs, according to their own abilities. The structure of a massive fort slowly formed. The Heavenly Network was trying to build an impregnable fortress here to welcome their enemies. Chapter 825, An Accident. The Heavenly Network practitioners were scattered around the Tigerback campsite. They had decided that this was to be the site of their final battle. Inside the camp, each Class B, including Chen Zhuan, was in charge of an elite operations squad. Although the number of Class Bs in the Heavenly Network was fewer than that in all the other organizations, the Heavenly Network had decided to maximize the power of each of their members so as to battle against the rest of the world. This was probably the first all-out war in the cultivation realm, and it had involved all first-class organizations. At the moment, the Heavenly Network camp was operating at Tigerback like a precisely made machine, in which every person played their role as a cog to the fullest. All members, be it fighters, scouts or logistics personnel, were working diligently in their own positions. As a matter of fact, one's role could inevitably change their personality. For example, even Chen Zhuan, an unreliable little fatty in the past, had become more resilient and composed after he was appointed the leader of an elite squad. Back in the days of the Flood of Bronze, Chen Zhuan used to take the lead in fighting off the enemies. At the Tigerback, although he was not as courageous as before, his fearless image had still remained in his members' hearts. In fact, his men found him pretty reliable, although reckless at times. At this moment, Chen Zhuan was standing on top of a small hill. Beside him, Chang Qiuqiao was giving orders to each squad in their section. After all the squads had left for their tasks, Chang Qiuqiao complained, "I'm not the boss here, so why am I the one giving orders?" All the miscellaneous matters in the section were handled by Chang Qiuqiao. In Chen Zhuan's words, his own role was to provide emotional support for the team and boost their morale. As they returned to the campsite, they happened to see Li Yixiao and Nailin Ke, who had just recovered from her injury. It seemed that the pair was arguing. When they walked near, they heard Nailin Ke asking, "Why do I have to lead one team by myself?" "I don't want to leave you, my love." Li Yixiao grinned. Nalan, we have a war ahead of us. I'll come back to you after the war. Truth be told, Li Xiao hoped it would be even better if Nalan K could be sent elsewhere for other tasks. In that case, he could at least relax for a few days. Li Xiao, Nalan K complained, "You've given me a hard time. Am I not a gem to my parents? Let me ask you, why do you think I want to be with you? I could have stayed at home. I'm not saying that I don't want to fight for the heavenly network. I do. But do remember this, I am fighting for you. No more secret purse." Li Xiao stared at Nalan K in shock. Did you just say that you are a gem? More like a crude rock, I feel. Wait. Then, Chen Zuan and Cheng Qiuqiao watched as Li Xiao's huge body flew out of the campsite following a perfect trajectory. Chen Zuan was dumbfounded. They always say that daughters are like gems. So how about sons? My parents expelled me from home and neither of them gave a damn about whether I'm still alive. Have they already forgotten about me? After a short silence, Cheng Qiuqiao replied, "Has it ever occurred to you that you could be an accident?" Chen Zuan drew a startled breath. This must be revenge, right? Qiuqiao, even your sentence structure is the same. Cheng Qiuqiao let out a cold laugh. Glad that you remember. Last time when Cheng Qiuqiao said that he had had a phobia of firecrackers since youth, Chen Zuan mocked that he could be a Nian beast one. Now, Cheng Qiuqiao had finally taken his revenge. Chen Zuan sighed. I can see that you are influenced by Brother Shu, which is not good for you. Speaking of which, I wonder how he's doing right now. Chen Zuan had obtained a great sense of accomplishment in the war because his abilities were recognized and put to good use. But he would naturally become more down-to-earth when he thought of Lu Shu because he knew Lu Shu was on a whole new level. At this moment, Cloudy had let go of Lu Shu's arms. She sat beside him with a charming smile. Are you afraid of me? Am I really that scary? When she smiled, Lu Shu felt as if she was flirting with him. But how could he admit it? He was a strong and tough man. Then, he looked at Cloudy seriously and said, "Yes, I am afraid of you." Why? Just because we the puppet masters are called the demon kings who will destroy the earth? Cloudy asked with a faint smile at the corner of her mouth. Strictly speaking, though, it's right. Then, she suddenly looked up at the crown of the tree. Her eyes twinkled. Look who we have here. Another kid who's here to protect you. Truth be told, not many Class Bs can give me the same menacing glare as she does. Lu Shu gazed up at once and just in time to see a person disappear from the tree crown. It was Chao Qingxi. Honestly speaking, her appearance was totally unexpected. Moreover, she was watching over him from the shade in the top of the tree. Could this be friendship? Lu Shu could be certain that by then their batch of species research specialization had officially become a team. Although they had forged a close friendship with one another, Lu Shu had never thought about what he expected his friends to do for him because that would be completely heartless. However, that did not mean that his friends would not want to do something for him. Chao Qingxi was the quietest member among them, and even her protection of Lu Shu was carried out in silence. Certainly, she had a way to conceal her energy waves so as to act unnoticed near puppet masters. In that case, how did Cloudy discover her presence? Nevertheless, it seemed that Chao Qingxi had decided to retreat after her whereabouts were exposed. A competent killer would not make their move when their plan was revealed. This was a matter of principle. The reason for a killer's deadly nature was that they could seize the best opportunity to kill. Cloudy turned her gaze back to Lu Shu and said calmly, "Maybe you are right. We are the demon kings. But our objective is much simpler compared to you human beings. Besides, we know the way to healthy and sustainable development of the world. Our goal has never been the complete destruction of the earth." With that, Cloudy stood up and lowered her voice. "We have more important tasks ahead. Maybe we'll see you again soon. Perhaps one day, you will. Never mind, humans will know it in the end, and I have been looking forward to that day.
What does it mean to be happy? 'Cause it looks like we all don't know. Glass half full or empty. Man, we just putting on a show. Try to look to the heavens to tell us things that we better.